It's time. Guys, what's up? Good morning, good afternoon, good evening. I wrote an article the other day about Endgame, and I thought, you know what? There's probably people out there that don't want to read it. It says it's a 9-minute read. We can listen to it.
Endgame, the future of NFTs. GM. I appreciate you taking the time to check out my article about Endgame.
All right, listen, we're not gonna go the whole way through that, but either way, listen, you're able to read it that way, or you can have me read it. So a little bit of a backstory is I was able to interview Redbeard on the Shot to the Moon podcast, and I was like, all right, listen, this is a vibe. I thought it was a really good project beforehand, but going over the different Twitter spaces before, having the podcast, being able to kind of talk to him behind the scenes, it was really really nice, and kind of a funny backstory with the aspect of that recording was the way my mic was and the way Redbeard's was is the Discord recording that we normally do wasn't working. So we had to find an alternative, which ended up being Google. And for whatever reason that day, my microphone settings, everything was being super wonky. So we then jumped over to a Zoom call. And, before we figured out you could do it free for an hour, we were like, oh crap, we have to pay. And Redbeard offered to pay. And I was like, wow, what a humble guy. Even though, it was us doing the interview. So I just thought it was really, human kind of way. So I got really good vibes out of that, and just overall, I'm pretty excited for the project. So let's get into it. Endgame, the future of NFTs. GM, I appreciate you taking the time to check out my article about Endgame. This is compiled from notes I've taken from the official Look Labs Twitter Spaces and an interview I did with Look Labs CEO Redbeard for the Shot to the Moon podcast. So the first Twitter Space was back on March 11th. March 11th was our first introduction to Endgame. Look Labs Twitter Spaces prior call to this were solely about 420.game, a weed-growing DeFi game. Green Genie was known as the head person for everything, including hardcore coding for the product. During this call, we found out that Redbeard had been in talks and started this endgame idea 6 months ago. With the idea in place and having been introduced to Green Genie, it was the perfect match. Redbeard has had several successful entrepreneurial endeavors, and Green Genie is one of the top coders out there. The roadmap is laid out, but they want to take community feedback every step of the way and iterate and make changes where needed. Redbeard owns a web marketing business and has developed a whole team to Endgame. He wants to create the best digital comic NFT project in the market. His business partner has two cousins that are award-nominated editors at Marvel. They were instrumental in helping guide Endgame into an AAA title that long-term can do really big things, said Redbeard. The goal isn't to just produce comics, but have innovative ways for the comics to be consumed. Between the different comic drops, risk events will happen. The events will be small battles and games that are fun but create a lot of drama. These events and drama will be incorporated into the comics. The plan is to have the NFT's metadata update and evolve over time, meaning you'll only ever need one NFT. The term specifically used for this is mimetic metadata. Apparently, Green Genie was very quick to pick up and learn this technology. Another thing that the Endgame team wanted to focus on is providing value to the community before asking for an investment. Along with the sentiment, discussion started about how there's been an explosion at Disney, Netflix, and other studios for illustrators and animators. Talent is in short supply, and several of the talent they've reached out to are very excited when they talk to them about the project. There's a high desire for several of them to do something out of the box, and it sounds like Look Labs may be snagging or have snagged some of this talent. Redbeard cited that it's easier to bring in talent with time and the support from the Look Labs community. This gives me the impression that the more we interact on social and work as a group to make people aware of Endgame, the better it bodes for them in conversations. Endgame is focusing their energy on keeping the product entertaining and having things happen in shorter time frames. A desire for perfection was the undertone of the conversation nearing the end of the Twitter space. They highlighted that people want things to match the speed of the space and are relying on community feedback and adjusting on the fly. They're spending their own money on the project and are fully aware that recouping their funds is uncertain. They want to prove their worth. As the conversation was wrapping up, Redbeard said that they were going to move slowly for the first bit of the game, but are highly calculated. The villain will burn up spaces. Ba-da-da. After the Twitter space, there was a lot of questions and concerns about the first Twitter space because it sounded like things weren't fully flushed out. Yeah, shout out to the OG chat, baby. The start of the second Twitter space, Redbeard came in flying. Everything else doesn't matter. That's what Redbeard wanted attendees to know about the team's desire to turn Endgame and Look Labs into something special. They have the best of the best and want to have the best possible game. They're planning years out and already have 6 to 9 months of content ready. The comic is going to follow along with your journey in Endgame. Having a Look Labs game key gets you started with the first iteration of your NFT. As the game progresses, some people are going to get way ahead a lot faster, and some may die. A Look Labs key will get you into Endgame. Kev woke up to get one, you should probably hide yours. And so this, if you remember Kevin. Well, here's the take on it. There's a risk factor that will be present as you play the game, and you'll be able to earn and, of course, lose tokens in-game. If you die in-game, you'll be able to buy back in. The tokenomics are crazy, but they're risky and really rewarding. In the game, there'll be situations where you go into a battle or event, and you may need your game key. If you plan on playing 420.game and Endgame, it's likely worthwhile to have 2 game keys. To mint Endgame, you can still have your key staked in 420, just as an FYI. Sometimes you may only need your game key for a day. In this discussion, there was a mention of game keys having badges as well. So, also, they've been showing different photos of this Arc X thing, and this kind of looks like a raceway, unless this is just like the catapult where, yeah, anyway. Many will many will make the journey, few will reach the destination. Battles in Endgame will have you use your character to do certain things. Other events and battles will require you to work together, and you could fail if you haven't assembled a strong enough team to meet the goal / win the thing. For OG pass holders, everyone playing the game will be on the same arena and field, but they'll specifically receive 3 to 4 cheat codes, and that's about, rough numbers was kind of the vibe when they said that. This next paragraph is going to be a mix of a whole bunch of notable things from the Twitter space. The game keys are going to change metadata if your key is staked in Endgame. The roadmap is solid, and they don't intend on making too many changes, but they could around the 9-month mark. Characters are already planned out. To get into the Endgame mint, you need a game key, or game keys, OG Pass, or receive a whitelist from the team's interactive events or community partnerships, which again, huge thank you to Redbeard and the Look Labs team for providing me with a few of them. And if you happen to be in Sneaky Cheetah, the Shillerverse Discord, or Shot to the Moon NFT holders, you guys will know that we've had a couple of them. So super excited for those winners. Congratulations. And we might have another one here or there, sneak peek to kind of give away. Anyway, the mint size will be close to 15,000. Majority of mints will be civilians, with a rare set of heroes and villains scattered in there. If you're leading your crew successfully, there's a high likelihood you'll see that your NFT changes into a hero they haven't announced yet. Endgame is designed so you won't need to be at your computer for hours to play, similar to what Alpha Game from Wolf Game is doing. You're definitely going to want to check in every week or two. Aligning with the story, you'll need to assemble a group or pick the group you think is best. There are a couple spots in the roadmap where the team can pivot between 2 options, and they are ready to roll with either, citing that they are going to be paying close attention to feedback of rollouts of happenings. When mint, the world pauses to watch him speak. Only the best will make it. Will you be one of them? At the time of the Twitter space, they said within 30 days, and that's for the mint, so then 30 days, we'll have the mint. As we're approaching that 30-day mark, I wouldn't be shocked if it was a few days beyond that. It sounds like they are ready to roll whenever, but as per usual with NFTs, I'm a little skeptical. Redbeard spoke about them wanting to have a bounty system before the contract launches. If new partnerships or changes they want to make are in the works, I'm happy to wait a few days. The endgame token will be free, as is the mint itself. They want to make sure you have everything you need to play for free. The endgame team is separate from the 420.game team, but endgame specifically joined up with Look Labs for their Solidity work. This expansion has everyone asking, what is Look Labs? What we know is that the team spoke about their desire to acquire other projects, and we should expect more projects to pop up that are created in-house. So next up is the Shot to the Moon podcast, and we have a weekly podcast that comes out, and we've talked with a whole bunch of massive names within the space. From our first episode with Sebastian from The Sandbox, we've had Ram and Ya from World of Women on, we've had Evan from Doodles, and of course Redbeard from Endgame. So Redbeard started off the podcast with a little bit of insight into his internet marketing background. He launched a company in 2016 that services hundreds of small businesses. He reflected on the day he was introduced to Green Genie, and the two instantly hit it off. Both are family men, techie, and have similar interests. And now, specifically to me, knowing that they have a great relationship is paramount for the long-term success of Look Labs. Endgame's following, sorry, Endgame's following was somewhat of a surprise to Redbeard. And by following, referencing just the growth of the Twitter, Discord, all that kind of jazz, even though if you're in the Discord, you obviously know there's 420, and then Endgame chat, and the reception was just really well. So, he didn't know how the 420 or 420.game community would react, and Twitter reacted fast and passionately to their early leaks of characters. Speaking of characters, holy sheesh. With that following growing as quickly as it has, they've accelerated their timeline. They originally planned to have a few months to build up the following and community, but they moved to posting daily and wanting to get the mints in the hands of NFT collectors. During the Shot to the Moon interview, we asked, what do the next 60 days look like? Redbeard anticipated the mint will have dropped, and Redbeard followed that up by saying the endgame storytellers are on Twitter and paying attention to the community and happenings to see if any members rise above the noise. The storytellers plan to add things that happen in the first comic. This first comic will drop 90 to 120 days from the podcast recording, and they've left out spots in the comic to insert these various happenings, but if there's nothing exciting happening, they'll scrap the idea. The comic will be dropped on the website for everyone to view. One of the writers of the team has worked in Hollywood for her whole life. The events in-game will enhance the NFTs you have. There will be additional NFTs released. For example, when the comic drops, they want to provide a keepsake, but don't anticipate 10,000 covers. Maybe a few hundred that are airdropped through Game Type Theory free. They are very conscious about not having too much supply. Redbeard highlights that the token is crazy, and he and Green Genie have big plans for Look Labs as a whole. They want to be like Zynga Games, who do Farmville, Zynga Poker, and others, and Gala Games, a blockchain gaming company which you might be familiar with. But have it where they are developing these blockchain games that are similar to Alpha Game, which again is Wolf Game's minigame, with a little bit of a twist. So for the token, the endgame token will be provided at mint and during the game. Every event you participate in, you'll need to have some. You'll be able to earn more tokens and badges throughout these events. You'll also need to be careful if you run out of character lives or tokens. You may need to call a friend or get some tokens to get back into the game. However, you may do that. With references to Look Labs acquiring projects, they'd likely be projects that don't have the team or devs able to create the vision bigger or fast enough. They know they have the development team to move a project forward that has potential. The endgame characters are inspired by NFT Twitter and NFTs in general. Anticipate more things happening in reference to the NFT space. However, they want to have it where people who don't understand NFTs still enjoy the story. Redbeard loves building things and is going to be here for a long time. They are investing and are hoping to create some amazing experiences. When we asked Redbeard what he hopes to have happen in 5 years, he said, I hope that we create a compelling enough story that someone wants to create a real-life show out of it. And I'd watch that. So, guys, that's it. That's it. Hope you enjoyed that. If you want to follow me on Twitter, in the Discord, we'll throw all the socials down below. Again, shout out to the OG chat. And if you guys have any questions, again, feel free just to reach out. But otherwise, enjoy your weekend. Yeah, all right, peace.